Okay, guys. So today we're here with Mr. VC. You're with the Louisiana Small Business Development Center. You're the director of that.
Mhm.
And is that affiliated with ULM? Is there like a loose affiliation? I know you're on the ULM campus, your office. So how are you guys tied in with ULM, or y'all just a satellite, a separate entity?
No, we are completely tied with ULM. We are hosted by the campus.
Okay, fantastic.
And I'll explain later on once we get deeper into conversations that what kind of affiliation we have.
Fantastic. I was referred your name with from Dean Ball. Dean has a passion for our community, for business growth and just local economic growth within our area. And I asked him, I said, "Hey, Dean, who's the person I need to talk to that knows the most about small businesses and can help small businesses take their business to the next level or get things up off the ground?" He said, "You got to talk to VC. He's the expert in our area." So when you agreed to do this, I'm very appreciative of that. So preparing for this this podcast, you sent us some information. I started doing a little information, do a little bit of digging on my part, and found out that you originally graduated in chemistry in India at a college there, university there, and we're like miles apart, when you think about it. But really, when I go back to look at what you accomplished with that education, it's all about data analytics, really being able to dive into and problem solving. So give us a little backstory about, your path from, what was it? It wasn't chemical engineering. What was the degree that you got originally?
Yeah, so it's master's in analytical chemistry and
Okay.
instrumentations. So you kind of went in the right direction. Why I chose this path? Number one, I do not know why I did, but maybe God was somewhere telling me to find something new.
Right.
So I worked with pharma sector in R&D setting in analytical research on pharmaceutical drugs. So after working 4 years dealing with FDA, I realized this is interesting, but not interesting enough. So new challenge, new equations, new things. And I said, I'll go and pursue some education. And and I know very well, back in 2007, when I came here, Google was the only search engine pretty
Right.
much that can give you information. More than that, there was Skype, and you talk to your friends, those are working or they're living here, and they give you feedback. So I didn't know where to go, and I just threw a dart, and dart hit Monroe, Louisiana, pretty much.
Seriously? I mean, that's how you ended up here? It's just like,
That's how the research started.
Yeah.
So as you mentioned, research is everything is hypothesis based, and that's again some of this we were discussing before prepping for this podcast. What ideas come to your head, and like what to do? Will that work or not? So hypothesis says you have an idea. It may work, it may not work, right? So I started with that hypothesis that I will go and do some higher education, maybe PhD or MBA. I have always passion in entrepreneurship. Started first business when I was 18 years old. One family business was there, still running pretty successfully.
what type of business was it?
So one is real estate. Like we all love real estate.
Yeah.
I learned few things very early in life from seasoned people in there. Again, it depends on the market you are in.
Right.
And back in 2000 or something, India was going through that phase of exponential increase in the prices of real estate. Because of their involvement in WTO, and then all of a sudden after that, market was opening up in 96, 97, if you remember correctly. And you need to read the pulse of the economy where it is heading towards. So that exponential growth you're looking 10x, 20x. But again, you cannot time the market. So whoever the listener is, do your own research, and just don't jump into someone else's saying, If someone says you make the best potato salad, doesn't mean you open a restaurant,
Yeah,
right?
I agree with
So
that.
with that, that's one business. And we had this rental car service, a
Okay.
fleet of around 65, 70 cars and
So
all.
from a young age, you had an entrepreneurial spirit. Is that
Oh,
correct?
definitely. It
Okay.
goes back to your early. If I will say who got the best skill set and spirit of being an entrepreneur, that's you're looking at those sixth, seventh graders, even right from lemonade stand, right? They have ideas, they have vision. If you let
Right.
them play with the tools, they will find that solution somewhere. And many people say to be successful, you have to do PhDs or MBAs
Yeah.
and all those stuff. Yes, you do in some cases, and in other cases, not everyone is Albert Einstein,
Sure.
right? Not everyone is Warren Buffett, but you can start somewhere and you can create your own path with your own passion. And if you like something to do, that means you're not working to make money, but you're enjoying, and
Yes.
ultimately you're bringing some value to community as well as yourself and to your family. So coming back to that, so hence 2007 I decided let me come for MBA. Campus looked beautiful. Some of the professors I reviewed their bio, fantastic, and that's how I jumped here. And then I started working with Dr. Paul Dunn. He was pretty famous name. It still is very famous name. He's not with us anymore. But he started Louisiana's small business development chapter back in 1983 out of ULM.
Okay.
There was
I
a
did not know that.
professor in entrepreneurship. So you go to New York, you go to California, you ask in that generation, do you know Dr. Paul Dunn? He was a pioneer professor in marketing.
Hmm.
So started working with him. I thought I was crazy enough to think weird, but no, I found that match. Having to work with a boss who allows you go explore, and that's Brian. You said it correct. I think before this podcast, data-driven approach, finding the solution, connecting the dots. So that's pure consulting. Plus, we do a lot of research along with that. So it's easier to say, yeah, there are 50,000 people in Monroe, roughly, but can you prove it?
Yeah.
Right? So there's something called fact and there's something called fiction. So when you have numbers, you have facts, then that's a strong story, or then you can think about will something work or not.
And just because you have that set of facts, I think you said it best. Just because you have great potato salad doesn't mean you need to open a restaurant. So,
Mhm.
there's a lot that I want to try to unpack when it comes to entrepreneurship and what you guys can do to um, help facilitate success with a small business. Give us kind of just a general overview of what you guys can offer the community when it comes to assistance with opening or growing a small business.
Yeah. So, number one mindset for any entrepreneur, and I'll connect it in a story version so you will see that whole picture, or that 360 vision. It starts from what are the resources available in the community that can be used to follow your passion. Comes Louisiana Small Business Development Center. We are funded by SBA, that's a federal agency, Small Business Administration, and at the state level, Louisiana Economic Development, which is LED, and
Right.
Steen Bog, one
Sure.
of that great guy. And in our case, we are also hosted by our campus, that's University of Louisiana Monroe. So all together, they give the product out, which is called Louisiana Small Business Development Center at ULM.
Okay.
Right? We serve 15 parishes northeast Louisiana, and we go deeper into that. We have a small but very effective team. We cover most of that. The services that comes out of our office is towards both startup,
Mhm.
those people who are in idea stage. They have a hypothesis. They want to work in that direction. You do not know if they are going in right direction or they are going in wrong direction. And those who are existing business. Now, with existing business, you may be struggling, you may not be struggling, and you're looking for a beautiful growth. All these three or four aspects I just told you, those are one-on-one consultation we give in a confidential setting.
Sure.
So everything what we discuss, we don't share anywhere without the permission of the client.
Right.
Okay. That's one of the guidelines we have to follow. Now, the other aspect is we go and train and teach people. So education is backbone of any business pretty
Right.
much. If you know your field, then only you can be successful. If I will say, if you ask me, hey, VC, just run this podcast, run this beautiful conversation, that's not my skill set. I do not know anything about technology editing side, right? So we go and teach businesses how to be smarter or work smarter rather than harder. And someone said it best. It's not my quote. Uh, if you work in the business, chances you can survive 6 months, maybe a year. If you work on the business, chances there will be a growth pattern. So working in versus on, especially in this economy, is super critical because you do not know what's coming next.
And it's constantly changing. So it's kind of ironic that you talk about working in the business or on the business. My calendar that I have is color coded, and two of the things are that most in my calendar is this time that I'm working on the business or is this time I'm working in the business. Yeah. And then at the end of the month, I have a recap of it to show me how much time I was working on the business because I know that if I'm not constantly working on the business, then I have no expectation for growth. And at some point, spending too much time not working on the business, I'm going to get left behind.
Yeah.
So I think there's an important thing that you just said, that education is important for anybody that expects growth. And it's not necessarily university level education. You got to hone your craft. Mm-hmm. How many business owners have you come across or startups to where they're really good at this one thing, but they have weaknesses all around them because they only know this one thing and they know it well, but they may not have a sense for finance. They may not have a sense for market research or marketing. Is that pretty common with small business owners?
I will say I wish I can share the data if we collect it properly, but based on our interaction, all the consultants we have, that is an accurate statement. Yeah. They are good in one direction. They are not great in the other direction. I won't say they are bad or anything, but because you are a small business owner, you are the CEO of the company and you are the supply chain guy for the company as well. So if any pipe breaks down in middle of night, it's your job.
It's
right?
Up to you.
Do
you have any success stories that we can just kind of, top level look at since you've been involved in the organization that you can say, this is one candidate that we can look at that went through the process and look at where they're at now?
Yeah, there are not one, there are several. So in one given year, we serve 300 clients. Now I have to be careful to not let some name come out because I have to keep the confidentiality clause. But we do publish those stories through our Facebook page or our other newsletters or at national level as well. One of the most interesting client I have ever worked, I will say many, all of them are interesting. I see every idea is different idea. You work with them, you enjoy. That's the kick out of doing this.
Yeah, I can imagine because I'm just sitting here. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but sitting here thinking about the enjoyment you must be able to get to hear ideas and see this person's dream that they're wanting to make into a reality, and you get to see and hear a lot of things, I'm sure.
Yes, Brian, and I will say dreaming big is not easy, but dreaming big and then executing that is a whole different level. Yeah. So the commitment, in many cases, you can tell when the client walks in how prepared they are, where they are leading their conversation to, how much work we have to do with them, and how many areas we have to address. So SBDC's best explanation can be we hold your hand in many cases, walk with you. We look around the corner. We will let you know there's a blind spot. Sure. You miss that, and that with any role.
But that's
to be honest,
huge, though.
That is huge.
To be able to. Someone told me one time that there was some. I've made plenty of mistakes in my career in real estate, and I had a professional coach tell me one time and said, I was really hard on myself because the mistake cost me a good bit of money. He said, Brian, you just paid for some education.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I understand that. I received that, but I don't want to pay that price again. He said, then learn from it.
Yeah.
Learn from it. Go back and analyze what you did wrong so that we don't repeat that same mistake. I got you off topic. You're talking about an exciting, success story.
Yeah, so back in 2016, a gentleman named Mr. Lee Melham walked into our office at Stubbs Hall, that's on campus, Suite 250, and he opened little case, and he said, "I have this business idea, and I want to make it a reality." And he opened a piece of paper, and that was a drawing on that piece of paper. And I asked, okay, I understand you have this idea. What's the end game? Where you want to go? What do you call as a success? What do you want to achieve out of this? Some people prefer hiring people, making lives better.
Mm-hmm.
Some people says, I want to make this a global aspect. I want to be recognized. And this person was, I want to have good life at once I retire, and I should be able to afford XYZ things. I don't want to go in that depth. And all of a sudden I said, that's interesting. I never had those kind of conversation so far. And it was a tape cutter, a simple tape cutter, as light as your keychain is heavier, your pen, kind of like weight of your pen. And he explained to me what the product is. And he said, I have no knowledge about product design. I have no knowledge about pricing. I do not know about research gaps, but I know about one thing. This product will work because I have spent hours in designing, as in drawing it, and the purpose. So it solves that problem in the society, and consumer will be appealed towards that. So we started working on that. That tape cutter comes in 3 sizes. At that point, it came in 3 sizes. Now it comes in other sizes and designs as well. And we figured out the pricing, and guess how many hours we spent just on pricing?
I can't imagine.
5 to 6 hours just discussing only price for 3 little tiny products. Let's say $1, $2, $3.
But price matters. I mean,
Price matters.
You could have the best product in the world that solves a great product, but if you got it priced wrong, maybe you can't manufacture it for what you thought it could be manufactured for, or the cost is too much and nobody's going to be willing to pay that for. So it is, the research up front is very, very important.
Yeah. So we went back to all the research data that we can gather. Who are the competitors? Where can he sell this product? What's the consumer mindset? The biggest aspect he nailed it was the purchase decision. There's a fine correlation between a gap and customer willing to buy that product or just move away. For example, you walked into a car lot, you have 2 choices. Either you don't buy or you buy. Right? So pretty much if how to convert those sales, how to appeal the client without doing those pull and push techniques, we can go and talk all day, whole day, but it should solve, as you said, Brian, that purpose, right fit. So it was solving, and guess what? Within 2 years, 3 years, he was selling for 15 countries other than US, and he was showcase client at White House from North Louisiana.
Wow.
So unfortunately, he's from Shreveport, not typically our market, but we were serving that market back then because of some structural changes we were having in the center or the network. But that's one story that's so close to my heart, that a person from a simple drawing on a piece of paper. Now, I have seen other drawings as well. I won't say I have not seen other drawings. And we don't say this will work or this will not work. My hypothesis say it can go either way. We will find out when we will start working towards that. And some of the services we do provide, and every entrepreneur should have those, is cash flow analysis.
Yes, most definitely. Because if you don't have that, then you don't have anything, because it's going to take the money to put these ideas into, not even to put those ideas in production. It's going to take money to determine if you can put something into production. So learning the numbers up front is important.
And I will give you two more examples. So that was high level showcase client. Only 10 or 12 in the nation were picked, and they were showcasing their
Wow.
business at White House. But that's now you will say, oh, that was one click. Like, like you got lucky with one idea. You have seen 10 or 15 of those. And I don't want to take away credit from the client. It was client who did this.
Sure.
We are there to provide the support. We do not run your business.
But how exciting was that
Right.
when you guys got to the finish line of being able to say that we've done what we could for you. Now you have to take this and be able to move forward with it if you choose to.
And he used majorly all his resources were pretty much from made in U.S. or designed in U.S. Right?
Just with that one client that you're talking about, how many hours do you think you and your team invested in him for him to get to that point?
So, Brian, that's a loaded question, and I'll be very careful how to answer.
Sure.
Don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or don't want to make anyone think differently. Here is the fact. We start, and this is my consulting style. I won't say other styles are not right or wrong.
Sure.
My consulting style is I get to that purchasing kind of ability of the customer. How many will buy that regularly from you? Is this commercial? Can we commercialize the product, and will that be purchased? So I start from that cash flow analysis, hypothesis. What's the benchmark we are talking about? And then we start going backwards. But when client walks in, we cannot decide that it will be 5-hour work or 50-hour work.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that this is not necessarily for a client that hit that level. This is not, we're going to go sit down with you for a 2-hour meeting and then I'm going to be good to go. This is a process. It's not we're going to check the box. Here's a piece of paper. It's going to tell you how to do it and make it happen.
I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you asked this question. This is a process. We are there to help you design and architect your own dream. We are not there just to play a role of as a manager.
Sure.
Out of the institute. So involvement is what we believe in. So we work with clients, and most of our clients are fantastic. They work a lot, and they are prepared in many cases, but sometimes they are not, and we work with them. We give them the pathway of stop being a hamster in the hamster wheel. Let's start from step 1, step 2, step 3, and this is how the timeline will work.
Right.
Now, as soon as we hit certain point, client will understand, oh, there are challenges with the ideas. We are not there yet.
Right.
Does not mean that idea is a bad idea. This is not the right timing, or probably requires further research.
Right.
Some ideas, they're like, oh, wow, this is great. But then there are some other challenges with finances, and we don't have control over any bank decisions on your loan if funding is required, but we prepare you for the banker. Right. So we go through the process. So it can go from 5 hours till 30, 40 hours. And a typical average client we see when we do that analysis is 5 to 6 hours we spend on average client when we serve 300 plus clients. But again, when you do the math, that's a huge number. But some clients, they will come, they will realize they're not ready yet. They go to the workshops. We let them take few training courses, which are again no cost.
Right.
We give them the path, and then some clients, they are ready. They are prepared. They are going to that next level pretty much. So entrepreneurship can change lives. Two great examples. Two other stories are, everyone knows in our town, Bone Crusher, that gym that is open, right? Sammy Crawford. He has transformed that business model. He has transformed lives. He has transformed his life, and he is doing amazing, as in making a positive impact in the community. If just go and Google Bone Crusher and read his story. He's a great guy, great gentleman, and that's a testimony of one person in entrepreneurial world can literally change the thought process, right? Then you go to Kool-Aid Pickle Lady. She started with just making pickle out of under cottage law. And now she has hired 3 to 5 people and she is in multiple stores right now. And there's still Christina Davis, one of our business consultants. She's working with her on the plan to go to that next level. She's part of a roundtable, which is Louisiana Economic Development Roundtable for industry owners of the business. And there are several stories out there. These are just examples.
When you're looking at, and the genesis of this question is to kind of explain people that this is not necessarily always going to be a quick process. If you're looking to take a product to market and you're still in the idea phase, you don't have anything out there, and I come to you, we're sitting there talking, we're probably talking years, not months in a lot of cases, when you have an idea that you want to turn into a product and that product get distributed and sold. Isn't it important for people to have realistic expectations when they're going through this process, that things don't happen always at the snap of a finger? It's a process, and you got to be willing to put the time in if you want to ensure success.
No, that is absolutely correct. That's a great statement. Our goal is to, if the information come to us, 6 to 10 working days, we give the first financial draft, so client will have an idea. But that depends on how fast we can get information from you.
Right.
And typically that goes in, let's say, Brian, you walk into my office and you'll say, hey, I have a product design for a flying car concept and I want to work with you on that. And we'll say, great, let's do some research on that. You do your research, I'll do my research, and I expect the startup cost, if you can tell me. And their reply is, I don't know what it takes, right? So then we will go back and start discussing, as in, okay, what's the raw material cost? What type of parts you're looking for? Can we find out the pricing on that, even close to that? It should not be the exact number, but how about where are you going to manufacture those? What about the R&D cost? So we ask those specific questions that will lead towards understanding what capital you are looking for to start that particular business. If that process takes 15 days, then your clock will start ticking after that 15 days.
Right.
And then we are again first come, first serve basis, and we are small but dynamic staff. We have 2 part-time consultants, and you're looking at me as part-time consultant because I'm director at this center. We have other duties to,
Sure.
we have to run the center, right? We have to liaison, promote at several levels, and we all do that as consultants anyways. And then we have Christina Davis. So we have equivalent to 3 full-time people in that office. And that's not all consulting work. There's a lot of admin, there's a lot of accounting, but we
Sure.
also work with students. Sometimes we have some GAs, we train them, we work with them on the financial pieces. So typically the process depends on how much efforts client is ready to put as well.
So this needs to be, you're going to increase your level of success if the client is engaged and not relying on someone else to figure everything out for them. The client really needs to kind of be engaged to be an active participant in the process.
Absolutely. And again, you said success. Again, defining success is so important. So when you come to our office and you'll say, I want to start a crawfish trailer or a food truck, that's not going to give you the business plan. That's not how we work. That's how our bankers know us, that we have coached the client. This is not, we are not like AI. You go and it will give you a dummy case and you go ahead and it won't be successful. Our job is to show you those corners, those blind spots, that, hey, have you thought about these? So these are the discussions. Those are super critical. Even if you, patience is a virtue especially in small business world, because you are CEO and you are the supply guy, right? So you have to spend hours, and also understand, if you spend hundreds and hundreds an hour thinking about the project, thinking about the idea, you have that information. When you come to us, you need to unload that in bits and pieces, which typically any person does that,
Right.
that we can digest the information and we can translate that to the paper.
Sure.
That communication gap is always there. That great philosophy. Project team is looking to build a beautiful swing set, and it came out to be a seesaw, right? So we don't want to have a seesaw when we are planning for the swing set.
Well, then that brings me to how important is marketing and market research when it comes into initially starting the plan.
I will say that should be the first step. Like the minute you have an idea, and I'll give you an example what you can do when you come to us. Okay. Number one, you need to find the gap. Okay, you can ask us, is there a gap in the market? There are some tools that gives an idea but doesn't necessarily mean that is the right answer. Then you also do some primary research other than your family members, because there is no credibility in the replies you'll get from your family members, because they are influenced by emotional attachment, right?
And either they want you to win or they want you to lose. They'll talk you out of it, or they'll build you up.
Yeah, so get advice from industry experts for sure. Talk to some other owners in similar businesses, maybe in some other state, maybe in similar kind of settings, because you may be a competitor for that other business, and they may not want to talk to you, and they will not talk to you. But then you attend some forums, you go sit outside one of your competitors' place, drive by a few times, see how they do business. Competition is healthy. And rivalry is also healthy in many cases, because then each one of them will get better.
Right.
Great example, Toyota and Honda. They are big corporates, but they are very big rivals, right? So same way, you do your market research a little bit, as in primary research, see what's happening in the market. Is there a gap really? If you will open a shirt, let's say shirt for men, chances of that being successful, you have to think twice.
Yeah.
What age you are selling, what sizes and how many you're selling, and
why your shirt over all these other shirts.
Yeah, and what's the product range? What's the income level you're targeting? Who is your target audience, right? So you have to have general understanding. But when you come to us, we ask similar questions, as in define your target audience. And sometimes people get too kind of like nervous about this question. But no, you have to identify. If you're selling something for $100, just one shirt, you have to start from that income level demographics.
So with our ever-changing economy, it's not just the economy, it's the way we live life. Everything's constantly changing. How do you guys keep up with the trends with everything changing? I know at a core, the ones and zeros are still going to be ones and zeros.
Yeah.
But how we interpret those ones and zeros changes. What we're buying and spending money on today, we may not be spending money on that tomorrow, just because when the price of milk goes up and interest rates go up, we tend to change our spending habits at that point. So from that perspective, how do you guys stay ahead of the curve on trying to anticipate what's happening in the marketplace?
So major portion of our hours in many cases goes towards reading those financial reports, seeing the global trends, following Wall Street Journal, some podcast related, and that goes to all our consultants, and that's how we build our value. And then again, that's fact based, not perception based. So we do a lot of reading in that direction. We go to the authentic journals, like as in particular my case, I love to wear those peer-to-peer journals, and those are within last 1 year or 2 year. Number one, that will give you the base, and then you go back in history, and then you correlate those facts, and then you have to constantly update you. Especially, that's why with every business, it ties back to the previous question. We do market research. We read the data using some latest tools, and we analyze it, and we share with the client based on what the data says. And then we have to keep an eye on the industry. And again, this is not my code. I attended many events, many codes someone else has used, so I'm not taking credit for those. But in your lifetime, you will see every 8-10 years there will be a slow time in economy.
Right.
You go back 40 years. Those are that old. They have been watching the economy, how that goes up and down. there's never a flat line. There's never 45-degree increase, or that's not going to happen. If that will happen, either A, data is being manipulated, or really early in the stage, that means crash to that business or industry is coming. On B, if it's a flat line, you are going down.
Yeah.
So keeping an eye constantly on the economy, consumer behavior is super critical, especially ever-changing market. If you go back, you remember when computers came up and everyone gets scared and like, hey, that will take our job and this and that. But then people starting using to your
Right.
advantage, and that's your differentiation strategy or competitiveness in the market.
Sure.
In small businesses, you have to be up and ready every single day. Every single day is a new day, and every single day is a new challenge, and you can plan, but then they are unexpected. COVID, biggest like no one has thought about that something of this level may happen.
Right.
But we have seen the crisis during COVID, how small businesses were impacted. Now we are going through a cycle of economic uncertainties, I will say. And uncertainties doesn't necessarily mean good, bad, ugly. We do not know certainly how the market will react. Now there are visa reports and there are Fed reports that we get in our emails as in newsletters, and we study those, we read those. So this is professional development, which is part of our job, which we constantly do, because if we are not updating ourselves, then how we are going to share that with our clients? So we have to constantly update ourselves, and it's not perception based, it's fact based.
Right.
And that changes after 4 months, 5 months, 1 year. It may change.
Correct.
The whole narrative can change, because consumer, think about, if you go back to 2008 and 9, Brian, you have seen this. When savings goes down and disposable income goes down, service industry take a major hit.
Yep.
And any slowdown of economy starts from your transportation industry facing the challenge. Then it's a ripple effect. Your real estate is pretty much, I will say, that means it's pretty crazy out there. 2008-9 was different issue. You are in that industry, you know that very well.
Yeah.
Now it's a whole different issue, but it depends on, if people do not have capacity to buy, then they are not buying those luxury items, or I won't say luxury items, I will say, if you buy, I'm not promoting Coke by any means. Let's say if you buy a case of water and that's getting expensive, you probably bring those filters in your house, and
Sure.
you'll say, let me solve the problem. So if butter knife can solve the problem from Shark Tank, that famous quote, why are you reinventing or inventing $100 unless it's a very high-end restaurant or something,
Sure.
right? So again, you have to modify yourself. As a small business, go back in your services, go back to your product. How can you fine tune, and how can you improve the sales, as well as keep an eye on the expenses and act smart rather than waiting. It's no more 6 month capacity you need in your business for cash flow. It's almost 1 year now.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. We had I started in real estate in 2006, and right after that, we had the market crash. I think it happened maybe in 07, 08, where the foreclosure started going through the roof.
Let me interrupt you.
Sure.
I graduated in 2009. Nobody knows better than me.
Well, during that time, we were fortunate in Northeast Louisiana that we'd never really get hit or impacted by big national swings until COVID hit. That's probably been the biggest local economic impact swing that in my professional career that we've seen. And where it goes from here, nobody really knows. The inflation is still high, interest rates are still high, but we are starting to see consumers adapting to what the new norm is and getting back out into the marketplace. So we talked about market research, and all of that is getting us to a point to build a business plan, right? So we got to have a business plan. If we're going to have a successful business, we got to have a roadmap. And that's where the business plan comes in. That's going to be our roadmap. but we can't get our financing until the business plan is there. Doing a little bit of research on your site, one of the things that I found to be encouraging anytime as a layperson working with the federal government, it's difficult. It's I don't know why they think why they have to be so difficult, but because you guys are linked with the small business loans, small business administration, you guys know the ins and outs of what lending is going to need. So once you help them put that business plan together, talk about how you help them structure and the recommendations you'll have with financing.
Okay. That's great input, to be honest. SBA provides guarantee on the loan program. So actually they are there to help you out. The biggest challenge, I'll give you two examples, and sometimes examples works best. The biggest issue with the success rate of getting loan and not getting loan depends on the factors that banking industry has drawn: your credit score, your credit range, collateral need, as well as your equity into the business. And then you have to prove which business plan shows on paper. Another thing, no business fails on paper. Every business is successful on paper before you hit the bank and before you open the business,
I want
right?
to add one more to that, at least from a local level, and that's going to be your reputation. One of the
Uh-huh.
things that I have found, commercial banking versus residential type banking,
Mhm.
um, you still have to have all of your ducks in a row, but your reputation matters
A
to the
lot.
bankers.
Yeah.
Every banker in town wants to loan money. That's the only way
Mhm.
they are profitable is if they put money out.
Mhm.
But you've got to have a business plan that backs that up. And I just really like how you guys are so detailed with that. So if someone is doing what they're supposed to do, you're going to have that business plan positioned in a way that's going to give them the most favorable light to the lender. Is
Mhm.
that a fair statement?
No, that's a fair statement, because first thing you do is you go and prove to the banker what's the story. What are you trying to do? So that's your 2 minutes, 3 minute pitch. And those are the starting point. If banker is interested, they also look at it as, oh, they are prepared. They know what they need to do. So when they will run their business, they will be successful. So those are important. But then that document goes to underwriters and they do their own math, they do their own analysis, and that market research helps in many cases. But then it goes back to your credit history, your credit score, and reputation. As in, credit history matters a lot, and then the collateral and equity. And that's the biggest drawback in many cases. There are programs that can help you depending on the type of loan and the size of loan. Sometimes people get innovative and they bring in some agencies, kind of CDCs, or like there's one we work with all the time, Community Business Finance.
Mhm.
They work with banker and they make the process easier. So it's sometime it may be a combination of bank depending on the size of the loan.
But with y'all's expertise, you can bring those recommendations to the table
Yes.
to let the client know that look, this looks good on paper. We've looked at all the feasibilities of this, but you may not be able to go the traditional path for financing, and we may need to explore some of these other options.
Yes, that is correct, and we recommend, and that's a strong statement right there. We don't do your loan.
Right.
We don't give you money. Working with us doesn't guarantee you anything. Working with us guarantee only one thing: we will give our honest recommendation with facts that will help you to move forward in the direction. Banker is ultimately that decides on if you will get the funding or not. Also understand every bank has different appetite and they have choice of industry they love to go
Sure.
into. So again, recommendation comes into the picture. We give them that kind of idea where they can go. We typically tell three bankers to go, and based on, but some bankers are more visible. They have appetite for more smaller loans, and they love one spouse working, other one opening business. There are so many combinations out there, and you said it best, Brian. They're in business to lend money,
Yeah.
right? So they want to see you successful, uh, so they can keep doing the business with you,
Sure.
right? You are their client. But if is business plan the ultimate answer? No, that's your first step, because you are not, banker is not sitting there for hours to understand your business concept.
Right.
They want to see the facts.
Right.
Once you give that, and then it goes back to your collateral requirements. We have seen that in 2008-9, or that crash, because there were collateral issues with the loans. We
Yeah.
have seen what has happened, right? So since then, banking industry has tightened many norms, and but then sometimes you don't need that much money.
Right.
I've seen many businesses coming, oh, bank will not give me $500,000. I was like, why do you need $500,000? I need to build XYZ thing. Can you lease it?
Yeah.
Will that be a smaller startup? If your business idea is successful, then why you are wasting your time on $500,000 because you do not have collateral to support that?
Right.
And some bank,
Maybe you don't need to be the manufacturer. Maybe you contract manufacturing.
exactly.
So, what's your advice to those people that money is always going to be at the core of starting a business? It's going to be a major factor when it comes to starting a business. At some point, you're going to
Mm-hmm.
have the capital to do things. And I can appreciate that some business plans are going to require more capital up front than others, but you will run into times where you'll need capital before you reach the end result of a product up front, just to prove that it's there. Because if you've got a big enough project that you're trying to put together, even after the feasibility study on it, there's a lot more research sometimes that has to go in to get proof of concept to that next phase. Are there within some government backed loans, are there ways that people can get the interim financing to fully vet it out, or to get it to, I don't know what the word I'm trying to use, when you're trying to study the commercialization of something? Most of the time sometimes we're having to hire people to do more in-depth studies.
Yeah.
It's not stuff that we can just pull off the internet or through some business related sources. And when you start getting into that level, that data is not always cheap.
Yeah, that is true.
So are there mechanisms as someone's going through this process to be able to get funding to get them through that process? Or is that the capital they'll typically have to raise on their own because the bank wants to see that finished product?
Yeah, that's a complex statement, first of all, Brian.
Well, if
So
we're
let
going
me-
too deep in it, I mean, let's keep it surface. It's just kind of how my mind works sometimes.
No, I think you asked that perfect question, but sometime for the audience, let's understand from two different factors, because you have done your research, but audience may have a context and they may not have a context. Depends on the type of industry and the product you're talking about. I'll give you an example from ULM has a great program called Pelican Cup. You may be aware of that.
We've attended every one of them. It's
Yes,
fantastic.
it's fantastic,
I love
right?
it.
And you have seen those students coming, pitching those ideas. They do presentation almost 45 minutes before coming and pitching those ideas. They work on a 100-page plus document for almost 6-8 months to prove the concept. And most successful winners from the past and now, they have invested money in their research and the prototype. I will be very careful to say this, but audience, please do understand, not every business needs to have prototype. It depends on what your idea is. First, start from what basic information or resources you have, kind of SBDC at no cost. We can always so in our office, we kind of like joke around as in good cop, bad cop. So dream crusher versus someone else. So when someone come to me as in patents, I worked in that industry a little bit on the pharmaceutical drug side. So it's kind of a funnel theory. You cannot be broad and have a patent. You have to be targeted to have a patent. But if you can find a product on Amazon, if you can find a product on eBay, if you can find the product on Alibaba, that means you will not get the patent. the product is out there. Unless you come up with something new and you go for the provisional patent and all this stuff. But then all these students presenting, they have spent hours, their own hours, along with their mentors. And then they all came up with those prototypes, if you remember. Even
Yep.
the last winner, when they showed up, they have a working case when they interviewed, or kind of the product was already being in process to have certain contracts. So they all had those prototypes. In some businesses, yes, you do. But do not jump into blindly into like spending money right from the beginning, because those resources, that's why SBDCs are there. Some research data, yes, those are expensive. Some are there and people do not know. And working smarter is sometimes helpful versus working harder. If you have to move a huge rock, will you keep pushing it? Or like call 100, 200 people in
Yeah.
5 days and push it? Or you just bring some big machine and pick it up and move it, right?
Yeah.
Kind of cutting a tree. I should not say cut a tree, but plant a tree. So again, it's that process. If you think you know it all, that's the end of your business. You cannot know it all. Like you have to have that strong team.
Yep.
All the famous business people, all the successful businesses, they have strong team. That's why they're successful. It's not leader provides vision, leader provides direction, but the team is the main ingredient there. So there are resources. Don't spend too much money right from the beginning and jumping into, oh, I have the data and now the product will
Sure.
be successful. Because as I said, be open minded with the hypothesis. It can be in your favor and it may go against you. So you don't want to learn those really expensive lessons. They're good to learn, but they hurt, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so we do have access to some market research capacity. They are pretty good software we use. We cannot give the full report because of copyright issues, but
Sure.
we can learn from those reports and we can share the output, because we are nonprofit and we are giving that no cost consulting or educational purposes. We are not selling the data.
Well, let's shift gears just a little bit. So we've been talking about startups, but another service, and which I think is just as vital, and in many cases can be more vital, and that's being able to take a small business from where they're at to where they want to go. You guys offer consulting in that area. So let's just say, fictitious business, we have a plastics company that is, producing a product, and they just can't seem to break through into other markets, and they want to be able to grow. They got the passion to grow the business. What can you offer the small business that has the idea to grow, but just don't know how? They just kind of stuck in a rut. And it's like, I want to do something, but I just don't know how to make it happen.
Yeah. So again, I do not know how you're coming up with these great questions, but they are so targeted. I love this conversation. So for any industry, if you go back to baking soda industry, okay, I'll give an example because examples help to create the context. Baking soda industries was dying a little bit back in 60s, 70s and all. And all of a sudden, recently in 2000, there's a new use to that. That's clean your kitchen counter and all those stuff is environmentally friendly and all those things coming into the picture instead of using harsh chemical bleach and
Right.
all, right? So they diversify the use of the product. They did their R&D on that side.
Didn't have to change anything, just the marketing of it.
Perception,
Yeah.
educating the client. There's another industry which has doubled the sale based on just one word. And I will say that's a shampoo industry. And they just added one word and they doubled the sales. Can you take a guess?
What's that one word?
Repeat.
Oh, goodness.
Right? So you have to be innovative in what you're trying to do. Now,
Yeah.
these solution or growth strategies are not easy. There is no one solution that will fit. So when you sit down with us, don't expect that we will give you the answer. We have to work together in finding one or two or three options and then narrowing down to let's go with one, and then we will see what to do with the others. In doing so, we start with our old school SWOT analysis. I learned one thing in this industry, reading all the marketing, entrepreneurship, and hearing the latest and the greatest millennials coming up with a brilliant targeted podcast. We are going back to the basics. We are keep going back to the basics. Industry changes, but they go back to the basics. So keep it simple, because that's how your client is going to understand. And always go with the client's perspective, what they are looking into, what is their problem, are you solving that problem, and that growth pattern should also fit in that same area. Now if you come and open, let's say, a big huge mall in middle of Monroe, do you think it will be a successful? There are chances it will be challenged,
Right.
because industry is moving away from brick and mortar in many cases. Retail, the new generation, is going towards online. They are more comfortable because they grew up in that. Brian, you and me are from that generation where we think phone as in it's a video, so we talk like this.
Right.
This is a symbol. But the newer kids, this is their symbol, because all they have seen is FaceTime.
That's it.
Right? So that's how the industry changes and the customer changes. So the growth strategy of existing business depends on which direction they want to go to. Now, again, as I said, hypothesis is great to diversify your own product, but then do you have niche in that market as well, or you're just adding another line because you think it will be great growth strategy? So lean management you may have, or lean processing, yeah, it's old school, but there's a philosophy, Japanese philosophy, that they believe in their long term, their short term is minimum 10 years. So if your short term for your own business is next 2 to 3 years, there's a problem.
Yeah, I agree with
Y-
that.
You need to have a vision where you want to be in that 10 years, and how the industry or these outliers will play a role in the whole growth strategy, right? Things may come and they will provide challenges, or COVID came in, nobody thought
Right.
about that. And if you're doing the diversification and growth push, what will happen if that situation again happen? What
Right.
will happen if economy goes down? Now plastic industry, for example, I won't say jump into that, because again that's very different, but plastic is seen as a taboo product in every place. But my question always is customer ready to make that switch to bamboo or bioplastic because of the cost associated?
Sure.
Right? Because as in customer, we can talk about, I try to stay away from these plastic bottles, but can you?
Yeah.
And will it make, you have to educate your client on that level. So growth strategy is, again, there's no simple one answer. We will come and analyze your business as in SWOT analysis, plain and simple. From there, we add those analytical thought process, research, understanding the customer right from as in it's a fresh idea, and then seeing how much customer penetration or market penetration we have with that product.
Well, you mentioned, lean manufacturing or lean processes. When a customer is approaching you guys or a client for growth, do you ever look at the current process of what they're doing to see if they're maximized with what they already have? Is that part of it? Do y'all ever get into that, or is that strictly based on what the customer is asking for?
Sometime that is based on what customer is asking, but we also recommend to agencies where they can go and get that consultation on that process itself, because yeah, we do have expertise, but it's not all the industry.
Sure.
So generalized business concept stays same. We are very finance driven approach along with research. When the production will come in, and that's where you approach LED, and there are similar programs that you go to, and they will help you. Those are geared towards manufacturing, and they will help you achieve that lean approach, to be honest. Now, Some industries we do have expertise and we can bring them if needed from other centers throughout the state. There are 8 to 10 centers depending on the like year we are in. Sometime it depends on if we have good cash matches
Right.
coming in. More institutes are interested in the centers, but any 100 120 mile radius, kind of like you have one center.
Right.
So kind of we serve Northeast. The closest to us is one in Alexandria,
Yeah, that
another
was
in Shreveport.
going to be one of my questions. Do you guys network within the state to pull re- pull talent resources?
Hmm.
I'm sure that there's other directors that have skills that you may not have, or that have been refined a little bit more skills in certain areas that you may not, or your consultants may or may not have. Are y'all able to kind of network and say, look, I've got something going on here. We haven't had a lot of dealings with it.
Hmm.
Do we have another talented person that can help us jump in and help us solve this one problem?
Yes, we do that. Sort of restaurant experts. We go into business valuation, and we do business valuation to some degree, but we don't certify it because
Right.
we cannot. Then there are industry specific expertise. We have export counseling is one of those. NASBITE, again, going towards export. Tech commercialization, we have Hutch sitting in Baton Rouge, LSU campus. He's a fantastic guy. Whenever we need to go after SBIR, STTR, those projects are there. So, yes, we do have a pool of experts. But again, if you look at the industries, there are like 10 to 13 different industries,
Sure.
and then all of them will have separate sections. But sometime uh, we do bring in some professors from our campus at ULM and other campuses if we can tap into those resources.
Right.
So if I do not know something, I will reach out to my lead center and ask like, who got this expertise? We have a database. And then we also, as in directors, will say, hey, what's your thought? Do you know anyone who has expertise in this area? And many education institute typically has one or two experts in those area. We try to club those links. Now, that's not the primary purpose of a professor. That's not their primary
Sure.
job. But the nature of education is like we love to spread the knowledge,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
they give feedback. We work with ag department at ULM Ag Business, and they are helping one or two businesses for specific needs. We have approached some other departments as well, and they have worked in that direction. So yeah, we do have some specializations, but we do find those resources at no cost because we want to keep it that way.
So I think my next statement is going to be very general. So give me a little bit of grace here. Everything we talked about today is from a reactive standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So problem comes in, client
Mhm.
comes in, you're there to work with them
Mm-hmm.
to help them solve the problem, not solve it for them, but help them solve the problem. Do you guys do anything on a proactive basis for the area? When I say the area, Northeast Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
to analyze where the need for growth is within our area. I think Dr. Scott from Louisiana Tech, I think he's an economist
Mm-hmm.
there, pointed out to us in one of the conversations that we do not produce a lot of finished products here.
Mm-hmm.
We are that middle person that
Mm-hmm.
we're exporting a lot of dollars out of here to be
Mhm.
finished some other place where someone else is getting the biggest benefit. Do you guys ever look internally in Northeast Louisiana to see where the opportunity for business growth is?
Yes, the answer is definitely yes. And I heard Dr. Scott last time he spoke at Clark William Innovation
Mm-hmm.
Center out of ULM's campus. Um, we do that research to a certain degree, and that's just understanding that professional development or knowing the market
Right.
better is typically what we do. So there is a study called gap analysis.
Okay.
Gap analysis gives an idea what industry is saturated here and what is not. And it doesn't give you complete picture, but
Sure.
it gives you an idea. Now, ag industry, the backbone of North Louisiana or Northeast Louisiana or Louisiana itself is definitely agriculture. We are heavy agriculture based industry. We can find out data. We have some data, and in fact, we were in conversation that we may come up with some solution, as in providing that solution out. These are the potential markets or industry. We do speak at chamber events in many parishes throughout Northeast Louisiana, and we do share that gap analysis in some cases. We are not allowed to tell you what to do as a business.
Oh, yeah,
We can
I
only
understand
show
that.
you
Sure.
these are the gaps in the industry. But you are absolutely right. These questions that should be asked when you're thinking about your ideation, to be honest, topic ideation. Like, I'll give you another example. You have to be very specific with your idea. You cannot be broad.
Mhm.
You cannot say, "Oh, I'll sell it to all," and that won't work.
How are you going to do that?
How are you going to do that? Like, I will use example from Dr. Paul Dunn. Like, again, he's coming back. He taught me. He was my mentor. I will say, yeah, we can help you publish or advertise in the highest circulation newspaper, and that you have a crawfish business. Do you want to do that? And customer will say, yeah, that's free of cost. That I'll love it. Well, okay, we'll do that in Shanghai Times. Well, that's not going to solve. I have a food truck in Monroe. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be specific what you're trying to do. It's not going to help if you sell crawfish out of a food truck and you're publishing that in New Orleans if you're not going there. So you have to be smarter with your ideation. And some people have done fantastic job, and that's understanding your own market. So football, how much time you spend in analyzing a team, player, feedback, emotions, and then the result is something else, right? So it's same thing. You have to analyze to the finest piece which chess piece will make the best move. So kind of, I do not know. That's the direction.
Oh, no. I think that's great. I could probably keep going on for
I sometimes drift.
Well, I know I could keep going on for probably another hour with questions, but to kind of bring us towards a close here, what advice would you give that entrepreneur that has an idea to help them increase their success rate before they call you? What is going to be most ideal for them to be able to have prepared so that when they sit down with you and start talking with you, that they have an opportunity to get you guys involved right now, instead of being told, just don't think you're quite there yet. You need to kind of do this, this, and this. What would you encourage people to have put together already?
So number one is be flexible with your thought process. Be prepared for, again, hypothesis can go your direction or other direction. There are some training and workshops we provide, and those are no cost. You can go to www.louisianasbdc.org, find Monroe Center, and now we do almost 80-20 online versus in person, and attend those workshops. That's not that's going to give you an idea of what you're thinking. Are you thinking the right direction or not? Education is super critical. Not just getting degrees. Is education about your own field is super critical. You have to be the expert in your own field.
Sure.
Then comes the stage of facing the reality. Don't hesitate to call us. You can call us at 318-342-1224, and we will answer your call. We will have initial conversation over the phone, and 9 out of 10 we have an idea where the client should go first. So as I said, flexibility. I believe in every business idea is a great idea. Is the execution that is critical, and we are there to help you, but you have to help yourself in some cases as well. So prepare yourself, at least have a basic understanding of the industry by attending our workshops or training. If you cannot find something which is close to what you're thinking, do not hesitate to give a call, because we love to sit down and hear your idea. And then we will give you homework. Then your job is to do that homework before we go to the next level.
Right.
So it's not that, you have to submit the homework by Sunday or you will get a bad grade. Right. It's not graded. It's your own life. You're going to hire people to do job. You will be doing a super critical role in economy. To be honest, small businesses are backbone of
Yeah.
economy. So be flexible, be prepared. So you don't really have to prepare a whole lot, but think of vision. If I will say, Brian, I need a house, right? Your questions will come out: how big,
Yeah.
where, what's your affordability range you're talking about? And if someone will say, I need a house which is 5 bedroom in a school district next to church, give me a cost for a new pad or something. So you will say, okay, who is your contractor? Can you get a quote on that? Okay, I can get a quote on that. Now you can find them that kind of solution. Okay, this is the pad you are looking for. This is where you should be located. But building a 5 bedroom house depends on the size of
Mm.
bedrooms,
Yeah.
right? So these are some basics. Sometime that's why we have this starting and financing workshop. We do that once a month religiously. We do that. Madison Shadiska, she's a business consultant along with Rachel Pruitt. She's also a consultant. They both teach that workshop, and that is absolutely. Let's have a conversation for
Yeah.
45 minutes and see what needed to be done. And these are expected some factors, so we can fast pace the process rather than stalling it for days or months.
And I would even say, so I did look at your coursework that you have
Mhm.
on there, and Alex and I will be talking about one in marketing that you guys have that we're gonna go through because I mean, being able to have access to, um, when I call it real time info, I mean it's information that's relative in today's market that you guys are sharing. So any small business owners, I would definitely recommend that they go to your website. There's a lot of great tools that are on there, and most everything is going to be virtual. You can watch most of it online. You do have some live classes, but I think you guys are a great resource, and I kind of feel bad I didn't know about you guys beforehand. Um, we started talking. You mentioned earlier that Northeast Louisiana small business is the backbone of our economy, and we've got a lot of great businesses out there. COVID hurt some of them, but some of them it helped flourish with it. So I believe in our community. I want a place where my kids, when they grow up, they want to get jobs here, start businesses here. They want to kind of raise their family here. So I want to expose everything our community has to offer. And I think you guys are a great resource. And I really appreciate you giving me your time today to come in and chat. And I'm sure I've got more questions for you, and we'll have to push that down the road. But thanks again for your
No,
time and
Brian,
what you
anytime.
guys are doing.
Yeah, anytime. And we love to come back and talk industry specific or sometime topic specific and maybe in a group setting. But what you're doing is important. People should understand these resources are for your use. This is at no cost out of campus. We are doing this. Louisiana Small Business Development Center is there since 1983 in Louisiana. We are doing something right. That's why we are in business for so long. And our community is very innovative. Our community has produced some of the best big corporations. Delta
Mm-hmm.
flourished here. CenturyLink, now Lumen, flourished here.
Yeah.
So they are smart people, and we have very stable small little community. And you know this housing market more than anyone in this room and outside. Uh, and we have a stable economy with little fluctuation.
Sure.
So, yeah, COVID is a whole different level of discussion. One closing from me will be watch your cash flow, especially at this time, because of how the economy is shaping up. Irrespective of your perceptions, follow the facts. And if fact says yay or nay, understand your customer behavior, go back to your staff, build a strong team, and address any challenge as a team and be innovative with your thought process.
Well, I appreciate your time and
Yeah, no
thank you for
problem.
the information you've given us.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this podcast. We really appreciate your involvement. Please leave us a comment, or even better yet, subscribe to this podcast and hit that notification bell so that you can be alerted for every new episode when it hits.